because this week I actually took my middle son, who's in high school, to thrift stores, and he absolutely loved it. So I come down here today, and there's and see that package right there. Yeah. That's his. He's already selling stuff on Depop.
Hi, I'm Chad the Quirky Picker. I'm a full-time reseller from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Hi everyone, I'm Denis the Free King Flipper. I'm a full-time reseller from Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
I'm an everything seller, but I love to sell all kinds of electronics and anything unique and vintage.
I'm an everything seller as well, but I really enjoy finding and flipping our vintage toys, Sony Walkmans, vintage electronics.
Join us each week as we discuss life as a full-time reseller. We will share our experiences, both the good and the not so good.
Learn from our expertise and our mistakes.
From sourcing to listing to shipping,
customer interactions, we will cover it all.
This is the Full-Time Flippers
Reselling Podcast.
Welcome to the Full-Time Flippers Podcast. I am Chad the Quirky Picker, and I'm here with
Denis the Free King Flipper. What's up?
Hey, Denis. You have a good week?
I did, actually. Good week, solid week.
Yeah.
Couple of good sales.
You went on a pick today.
I did. I just actually rushed back here, got kind of cleaned up in the powder room and, makeup room and ready to
makeup department.
Yeah. Raced home and unloaded the truck. I did 2 truckloads from a clean out. Just a local guy that, word of mouth type of thing, wanted me to come in and lighten the load before they sold the house and got the dumpster and the expensive clean out company, and said, hey, come on over. There's a pile of stuff in the garage. You're welcome to it. If not, it's going to the dump. It's going to the trash. So 2 truckloads later, and I haven't even gone through it yet, but it looks to be, worth my time.
Were you just grabbing things as fast as you could, or were you taking your time a little bit?
I was peeking in boxes like, this is not really what I want. There was a box of like baskets. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I took books. Yeah, I didn't even stop to look at them all. Right. But I did look through. There's books in there. There's some small electronics. There's some cosmetics or something that were all new and sealed.
Oh, that could be good as long as it's not expired. Yeah.
Yep. So I grabbed those, and not a lot of clothes, no shoes. So that's about it. So I haven't even gone through the other boxes. Some of them were taped up and it said donate or trash on it. So
sounds like a topic for next week's podcast.
I will let you know.
All right. So we wanted to share a little bit about ourselves today. So our listeners and viewers would get a feel for who we are and the types of things we find and how we pick and source and different things. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. The intro says you're from Cape Cod,
yep.
But maybe more specific, or share a little bit about your family as well.
Sure. Yeah. If anyone's ever been out to Massachusetts, the easternmost part of the state is a man-made island with a canal that has been cut through back in the, 30s. They made it. And the most eastern part sticks out into the water like a hook. They call it Cape Cod. Big tourist area in the summertime, maybe 3 or 4 times the population, come Memorial Day all the way through to Labor Day and even Columbus Day. So my family and I, we moved here. I'm from Massachusetts, but we moved away for a few years. And then we moved back here in 2007, where I started the law enforcement career up here. And then I think I mentioned before, after police work, went right in and full-time reseller since, this week it'll be 3 years, my 3-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations. You made it this far.
Yeah, that's right. Other than that, wife, 3 kids. My oldest is in college, and he was just here. It's vacation week. So he was just visiting. We went up and snowboarded. I love snowboarding. Still at my age, I'll get out there and go.
You said you had 3 kids. The oldest one's in college. The youngest one is how old? Or
a 10-year-old daughter. I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old son as well.
Okay. do they help at all with your business at all?
I'm actually glad and weird that you asked that, because this week I actually took my middle son, who's in high school, to thrift stores, and he absolutely loved it. So I come down here today, and there's and see that package right there.
Yeah.
That's his. He's already selling stuff on Depop. I did not teach him. He watched videos, and he watches TikTok, and he learned, and he went out, and I know he bought a couple of items on Thursday with me, but I didn't know that he came down here and used my label printer and some of my poly mailers. But I think it's great. So he loves it. The other two aren't into it, the selling feature of it, but they'll like going to look for clothes because they know that they can get good deals.
Yeah. He bought 2 items and sold 1 already.
He has listed 10 items, and that is his fourth sold item in like 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he underpricing it, or is it just he bought good stuff?
Probably. It's not high-end stuff.
Yeah.
So my thoughts are it's a new account, and maybe they're bumping his stuff up in the search.
Yeah.
Just to get him some sales, because if you're a new seller and you're sitting there for a month and you don't sell anything, you're probably not going to stick with the platform. So he's got 4 sold items already.
40% sell-through rate. That's pretty
It's
good.
like, wow.
I wish 40% of my stores sold in 10 days.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious to see if it slowly starts to trickle down where everybody else, you come back down to earth a bit.
Yeah.
But he wants to sell jeans. He loves finding and selling jeans. He's already found some really cool Levi's, and he's like, it's great. I'll wear them maybe a couple times and then throw them on there and sell them. So
yeah,
already hooked.
So what you like, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't like selling jeans, but I wear them.
Yeah.
So I am from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's a big Amish area, probably the biggest Amish area in the country. I think they're famous for that. Most people know that. I've lived here 16 years. I grew up in Northwest Ohio, close to the Route 127, which is where the famous Route 127 yard sales are. And I had shopped those for several years before I moved out here, but it was never really like a thing like it is now. Like it's a buzzword almost in the reselling community. I got a wife and 2 kids. I got 2 sons. One is 12 and the other one is 3. So he's taking his nap right now. That's why we record these podcasts at 3:00 on Friday, because it's nap time. Hopefully he naps. There's days where he hasn't been lately and we're like, oh no, hope he's not growing out of it quite yet, because we enjoy the hour-and-a-half break from the full-time job of being his parents. So Denis, we started this podcast last week. This is episode number 2. I was looking at the numbers this week, and we've had 100 listens and 13 subscribers so far in the last week. I don't know if 100 is that a good number or a bad number. It sounds promising. Sounds
good to me. I mean, it's better than none.
Yeah. Or less than 100. At least we hit 100. So
right.
I uploaded. I made a mistake, or my video kept glitching last week, and I didn't really realize how bad it was till I was watching on YouTube. So I went through and fixed that, and then re-uploaded that video as well. So the numbers will be smaller when you look at YouTube, but that's what we had. So the question someone might have is, why did we want to do this podcast? What were your reasons for wanting to do this podcast?
I mean, where I'm at, there's resellers, but we're kind of in competition, and I don't see these same people, on a daily basis. I see my family on a daily basis. They are not resellers. So it's really one of those weird jobs where you just can't have that water cooler conversation about work with anybody. You can watch videos about it. You can, live the life of a full-time reseller, but I kind of wanted an outlet and wanted to talk to someone that knows exactly what I'm talking about or feeling, goods and bads, the roller coaster of reselling, someone that just understands that. And I don't know, just an ear to listen to, what's going on in my life, week after week, sale after sale, returns, that type of stuff. And I think it's a great platform to do that. And I know you were reaching out and we were kind of talking back and forth for a while about doing this, and I'm just psyched that we actually, decided let's just do it.
Mm-hmm. Had to do some equipment upgrades and stuff, but yeah, I'm the same way. Like I think I mentioned last week, seems like all my reselling friends are just YouTubers, so they're not really my friends. I mean, some of them know me, but it's not like you're hanging out with them and going out for wings or something. But yeah, I'd always wanted to start a podcast from like when I heard the Trash to Cash podcast on week 1. I'm like, I want to do this at some point. I just wasn't quite there yet. But so I was always jealous watching their podcast grow and just a bunch of goofballs having fun. More as much as it is reselling sometimes. It's just kind of resellers goofing around having fun. But yeah, I like to talk nuts and bolts and get into the details of eBay and from time to time and maybe get a little more serious at times and still have fun. But so last July I was watching the Reseller Clickbait podcast, and it had Jimmy and Ken were the hosts at the time, and they mentioned they were going to go to the Route 127 yard sales, and I hadn't really watched their podcast much before then. And so I just typed in, whereabouts are you going in Route 127? And they said Van Wert. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll be in Bryan, Ohio, which is just like 20 miles north of there. I said, is there any chance that we could, like, you guys could go north and I would go south and we could meet somewhere for lunch? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, they don't even know who I am. But so on Friday, that's exactly what we did. We met in the middle and they actually showed up. It wasn't like they didn't come up with some excuse. And I'm like, they don't even know who I am. They'd never met me or seen me. But we sat there and we talked for like 2 hours over lunch about reselling. And I'm just like, this is the first conversation I've ever had with somebody that knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm like, now I really want to start a podcast. Just, because I don't have anybody to throw ideas off of or to, I can listen to what other people are doing, but it's different when you're doing it yourself and then being able to talk about your trials and errors and successes of what you're doing. So that was kind of why I wanted to start this podcast.
It's one of the only jobs where you don't have anybody close to you where you can say, am I doing this right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I really, there's no performance evaluation, there's no, am I doing a good job? Am I going to get a raise? Am I going to get fired? It's all on you. Mm-hmm. And at times it can be lonely. I'm down here in the basement, the heat cranked. I'm in the Northeast. It's cold out, and there's no sun down here. And I make it a point to get out of the house. Go to the post office, get your stuff, get in that sunlight a little bit. But it's nice to be able to talk with people that are pretty much doing the same job, that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. So let's move on. We're going to come to the segment called Home Runs and Strikeouts, our best and worst sales of the week. Dennis, do you have a home run?
My home run has been a long time coming. I actually finally sold one of those Macintosh amplifiers. I finally accepted an offer. I finally packaged it up and sent it out. He paid right away. I think this thing was bought like twice. And then one was a non-paid buyer. And then the other one was, I think it was the same guy. He bought it twice.
Oh.
And both times wanted me to cancel it after I'm like, come on, guy. Luckily, I didn't go out and get all the packaging and everything. So it wasn't a big deal. I just did, accepted the cancellation and moved on. But I wanted like 12 to 1,500 for this thing.
You've seen other comps at that price, comps at that price?
Yeah. So I had it high and then it went down and down and down. And finally someone's like, I think it was $750 plus shipping. So really not what I wanted. Yeah. So it's still a home run. Sorry. I bought it in a lot. I got a lot of Sonos equipment. Like 12 units of Sonos, a bunch of other, like 2 other amplifiers, a turntable, 2 cassette decks, a whole bunch of stuff, plus the 2 Macs. Mm-hmm. And I paid $600 for the entire lot.
Everything. So maybe if you itemize it out, maybe $100 each?
No, less, because I was getting $65 a piece for the Sonos, and I had 12.
Yeah. Wow.
So I made all of my money back plus some just on those.
Yeah. So these are all profit.
So
Yeah.
these were, you know, almost
And
nothing.
for people that don't know what Macintosh amplifiers are, they are what, the top of the line, would you say, or most sought after
I wouldn't
amplifiers?
say it's the Mercedes. I would say it's like the Bugatti, the Ferrari, the Lamborghini of
Mhm.
amplifiers. They've been around
Yeah.
since the 50s, still
Mhm.
made in the United States. Do not confuse it with Apple Macintosh. It's not MAC, it's MCINTOSH. Just search one up on eBay and go to sold, and it'll blow your mind what some people are paying for these things. They're unbelievable.
Yeah.
This was not a vintage piece. This was a more modern one,
Oh,
probably in the last 15 years.
Okay.
But anyway, I used some of this stuff. It's a 1-inch insulation board that I got.
Yeah.
And basically, I made a box around the unit and then put the whole unit in a box and then use like really heavy strapping tape for it and sent it out. It weighed 60 pounds.
Nice.
So, but he paid the shipping and it should be there Monday. So
how much was the shipping cost?
I did full insurance plus the weight dimensions. It was I think UPS ground, and it was like $68, almost $70. You know, signature confirmation, full insurance, and all that. So,
is that what he paid? You charge a set price, or do you charge?
He paid $50, and I think I paid the remainder, which was under.
Okay.
So
you kind of
with it.
You just wanted to price it low shipping to maybe increase your chances of selling it.
I did have it, so it was not going to Alaska or Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sale on eBay. So if people are wondering.
Yeah. At some point I would like to talk about like how we ship and how we price our shipping. Cause do you always do a set amount?
No.
Normally
calculated is what I do. And being on the East Coast, people get really upset when they're buying stuff, California and Washington State. They're wondering why the shipping's so high. I don't make the price. It's literally weight and dimensions.
Yeah. Do you pass on your discount, the eBay discount you don't? So that does make it like up to 40% more than what it actually costs you to ship it. Because sometimes like UPS or FedEx or even Priority it tells you what the discount rate is on eBay. It's sometimes up to 40%, which is.
Yeah. A couple of items in this past, when I was packing up orders today, I noticed it was 38% off, 35% off shipping. So I don't go and pass it along. I think it's a perk for me. Mm-hmm. I have to pay for the store every month. I have to pay for my shipping supplies. I ship everything as if this is how I would like to receive it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not doing cereal boxes and tissue paper. It's just go out and get the proper stuff and treat it like a business. So
what do you ship your cereal in?
I just wish they had Ziploc bags for cereal. Like, why haven't we discovered that yet?
Yeah.
That's another discussion.
Yeah, for the longest time, I would just pass on my discount to the customer, and then I would because I would look at sold comps, and if something's selling for $80 free shipping and it costs $15 to ship it, it's worth $65 plus shipping. So I would just always sell my stuff $65 plus calculated shipping. That's how I would typically list my stuff. Well, another YouTube couple, Grams and Pops Vintage, they've been experimenting around with different. They say when you pass your discount on, you lose money because eBay takes 13% from your shipping costs too. So if they're not paying any extra for shipping, that 13% comes out of your pocket. So in your shipping preferences, you can say you can charge the full amount. And then pass along a slight discount to the customer of a percentage. Well, when the first time I saw that, I read it wrong. And so I said, I'm going to try this. This was maybe a year ago. I said, I thought I was going to pass along like 80% of the discount to the customer and keep 20% for my packages. But what I ended up doing was eBay was charging 80% less than the actual shipping costs. So for like 2 days, I kept saying, this item, why did eBay only charge this person $4 for shipping when it's costing me like I don't know, $20 to ship it. And then I realized my mistake. So people were getting deals because, and then several people had added my items to their cart, but had purchased yet. So then I quickly went out and changed it. I just removed the discount. And then someone went, like, I had 3 people the next day all try to buy something. And then they didn't look at what they thought they were paying, like, let's say $15 for something with shipping. And then it charged them like 20. And they're just like, why did you raise the shipping rate on me so much? That's not fair. Why would you? And I'm like, because I screwed up. Yep. I said, I'll sell this item to you for the price that you thought you were buying it from. But so those three people, I just said, hey, I screwed up. So Grams and Pops, Corey and Teresa, have figured out that if they pass along 10% of the discount, they still make money on the shipping, and they still give the customer a slight discount over post office costs. So a 10% discount. I mean, so I switched. I just did 10%. I think they said maybe 5. They might even lean towards 5. They've been changing it around, but okay. I started to pass 10% of a 10% discount on shipping. And the only problems with that is if you're shipping media mail, because it also knocks 10% off of all platforms. So you don't get a discount on media mail from eBay. So I'm losing 10% on my books that are shipping media mail. But with the new price structures, I'm finding that media mail is actually more expensive than ground and priority in some cases when you're getting up to like 3, 4, 5 pounds. You've noticed that too?
Yep.
So yeah,
close. Like if I'm shipping something to New York, and it's a 5-pound book, and I'll look at it and I'm like, wait a second, media mail is like $7, but I can send this Ground Advantage for like $5.85 or $5.90. That shouldn't be the case, right? I mean, media mail should be the cheapest.
It always should be, yes. Yeah.
I always look. Every time I send something out media, I always scroll down a little bit to see is this the cheapest? Because I'll just pass that along, to the customer. They're going to get it quicker, and it's a cheaper price. So, yeah. All
right. Well, my home run. Long time ago, we started talking about home runs and strikeouts. On Sunday night, I told my wife, I'm still like $400 less than where I want to be by the end of the week, which is my week. It was Monday night at midnight, is week to week on eBay. And my wife's like, hey, she grabs my 3-year-old and is like, let's say a little prayer for Daddy that he can make $400. And like an hour later, I sold a $429 vacuum flow whole house vacuum system, the kind that like houses used to have in their basements, and then you would just plug a hose in around in the wall. Yep.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
Yep. So I was at a yard sale last summer, and a guy had one, and I'm like, "What do you want for that?" And he's like, $5. I'm like, "Does it work?" He's like, "Yep." And you only want $5? Yep. I'm like, "Okay." And I bought it and just sold it for $429. So that was.
How do you test something like that?
Just plugged it in and it ran. I put my hand over the hole and it had suction, and the other end was blowing air out. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So $429 made my weekly quota, which felt good.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Did you have any strikeouts this week?
I mean, I guess I'll wrap that Macintosh in with my strikeout because, because I didn't even get. I got about half of what I wanted. Okay. I'm not going to be. I can't call it a strikeout because it was $700+ sale.
Yeah.
So I'll call that my home run. But the strikeout part of it was, I didn't wait long enough? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that's the question. How long do you wait? If you got the space for it, but if you also want $700 in your pocket today, you take it. It's always hard to turn down an offer when it's a lot of money, even if it's less than.
Right.
How long did you have those in your store?
I got those this past fall.
Okay.
So
6 months.
It's been a while. Yeah, 5 or 6 months. So I guess you can call it an intentional walk. Not really a strikeout. It was an intentional walk. I didn't want it. I wanted to stay up at bat, but he walked me anyway. So
yeah.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, I've got some things in my store for a couple of years that I'm holding out for the right price. Like somebody's out there. They just haven't found they haven't thought about looking on eBay yet for my item. My strikeout was a Little Prince book. I don't know if you've ever heard of The Little Prince. It's a story. It's like a children's story, and it's been made. It's all over the world. I don't know how many languages it's been put in. I think it was written in the 1940s, and it's originally French.
Okay.
I was at an estate sale, and I bought a shelf full of books for $35. And on this shelf was like 20 different, maybe even 30 Little Prince books, all from different countries around the world.
Oh,
This
cool.
person had been collecting these books for their lifetime. And a lot of the books would have a note in it and say, you know, dear so-and-so, I was in Italy and I saw this book and I thought of you. So I'm buying it for you. And then so a lot of them had the notes from the person that gave them these gifts. And so if you do search for Little Prince book and on eBay, sold comps, high to low, like there's the first edition sells for, well, at the time, like last year, it was like $250. And I'm like, surely I don't have one of those. And I started going through my stack and boom, there was one wrapped up in it was the best condition out of any of the ones that had sold on eBay. I think I did sell it for only $225, but I've been slowly trickling through all the other languages. Like I had to do Google translate scans on the books just to try to figure out what language some of them were in. But I sold one from Argentina for $4. That was one of my few that are left. I guess there's no value, and Argentinians don't care about the book or whatever. But people from Argentina, people from Argentina can't even buy in U.S. I don't think eBay ships to Argentina, South America, because there's too much corruption.
Yeah. Not sure.
I sold it for $4, and about 10 minutes later, the person said, "Can you please cancel my order? I found it somewhere else cheaper."
Maybe.
All right, that's my strikeout. I can't even sell a $4 book.
Yep.
It's got to be worth $4. I mean,
Right.
just a airline ticket to Argentina and back is worth is $500 or more. I don't know. I'm not up on airline prices. But. All right, let's move on to the next section of our podcast called Bolos and Nolos. One thing to be on the lookout for, and one thing that you wouldn't buy again or wouldn't recommend that someone buys. Dennis, what is your Bolo of the week?
This was something I really wasn't expecting. Do you know, the all the gaming systems that have Skylanders, the little figures you put on this little disc portal type thing?
Yep, I've heard of those. Yeah.
Disney has their own called Infinity, and that's a difference. These ones mostly are worthless. They're little figures, and then they're supposed to do something. But to make them work, you would have to get this standalone. It looks like a little white disc, and then you would put it on there, and then that plugs into your Xbox, your PlayStation, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I stopped picking them up because they're like $8, $9.99 free shipping. I'm not doing it. No. And then you can check what the model number is on the back. So I got a box of free stuff on the side of the road. There was one of them in there. Okay. I'm like, this is one of those things. They're worthless. Turn it over, punched the numbers in, and it came up between $60 and $70. This is for a Xbox One, specifically for the Xbox One, and it's called a Traptanium portal for Xbox One. Okay. Again, I've never seen that one before. I've only seen the really low dollar amount ones. I threw it on there for $64.99 plus shipping, and it sold overnight.
Wow.
So
those are good sales.
So so it was free.
You found it in the trash? In someone's trash?
Side of the road in a box with a bunch of books, clothing. There was some real nasty boots, and then in the bottom of it was one of those, and then another piece that goes to the Infinity. Is it Infinity? Disney Infinity. It's more like a diamond-shaped one. Those are pretty much worthless. Those are $10 or less. But this one really surprised me. I had no idea why. That one's worth money, but then maybe the Xbox 360, it's really not worth that much at all. So search the model numbers on the back. Definitely at least look that model number up, punch it into sold listings, and then it'll tell you, which one you have. But the Traptanium for Xbox One, great bolo. They're probably out there at yard sales. You can probably pick them up cheap. And this one sold for almost $70.
Wow. Did you test it?
I did not.
Yeah.
So it was super clean.
Okay.
And it's already been received by the buyer. He gave me positive feedback.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, if it's along the road in the trash, you never know. Wait,
Yeah.
There.
Well, leave it to the Free King Flipper to find some free stuff.
Yeah, we can talk about that in another podcast. How you find so much free stuff. I mean, that's a whole topic conversation there.
My Nolo, and this has been one of my Nolos for probably 2 years now, ever since I scored big on one item. Ray Dunn mugs. Stop buying them. I have a shelf, like there's like 8 of them back here, and I just cannot get rid of them, to the point where I think they're like $3 plus shipping. The shipping is what, $12 now, $10 to ship a mug, a 2-pound mug.
Yeah.
Stop buying Ray Dunn. Most of them are mass produced. Most of them are at TJ Maxx and Marshalls and those stores like that. They're not worth anything. They put out new ones every single year around the holidays, around October for Halloween, Thanksgiving ones. There's so many. If you find an older piece and you got to turn it over and then you have the stamp on the bottom, research the older stamp. It'll be like this weird scripted M for magenta.
Okay.
That stuff you might want to research. But I'm talking about the plain Jane mugs that you see everywhere with the, I think they call it like country house, country design. It's the big chunky looking one with the script. Just don't bother doing it. They're like $9 new anyway, so I don't know what I'm expecting to get for a used Ray Dunn mug. So no low on the Ray Dunn.
Yeah. Were they free for you?
Of course.
Yeah. My Nolo is it's not like a shocker to anybody, but old 1960s, 1970s magazines. Sometimes you just see them in yard sales or estate sales, like Life magazine, Time magazine, the heavily produced ones.
I'm guilty.
Yeah, I got a stack of them. I think it was free. They were in the bottom of a box and when I pulled the stuff that I bought out of the box, there were these magazines. So I'm like, I listed them, sold them for $6. Maybe that's not a really good price, but yeah, stay away from magazines. They're heavy and you can't ship them medium mail, which, maybe that's not even the cheapest way, but I enjoyed looking at them for the ads more than the magazine. When I took pictures of them, I just took pictures of the ads. Yeah. It was like cars and I loved looking at like vintage stereo ads from the 1960s and
cigarette ads are hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Beer and alcohol ads are good.
Yeah. I remember those days. All right, let's move on to a segment that this is the first time we're doing it. It's called Time Machine. And this is us traveling back to a specific year. What would we buy then to resell now? And maybe each week or every few weeks when we do this, we'll just pick a different year out of a hat kind of thing. But we decided on this year we would go back to 1977. So Dennis, go back to 1977. What are you buying right now to sell today?
If I only knew now, if I knew then what I know now, right? Is that how it goes?
Yes.
One, I was only like 3 years old, but my dad wasn't. And all my dad had to do in 1977 when we're going into the department stores, I don't know if you had Bradley's or Ames or Kmart, and you go in there, you could get your kid a Star Wars figure. He just had to buy 2. They were what, $2 maybe, $2.99. I'm talking about the figure with the plastic and then the card backing on it.
He was buying one for you?
One for me. Yeah, it's
as a 3-year-old?
Well, no. Probably wasn't buying them until I was about 5 or 6.
Okay.
But if we're back at 1977,
yes,
this is what he should be buying.
That's what
he was buying them in 1980 when Return of the Jedi, 1983, and all that. So I know he bought them for me then, but of course I ripped it open, threw the packaging away, lost the weapon that it came with, lost the stuff. In any case, I did that for G.I. Joes, same thing, the figures and the vehicles. Like, how many people saved the box that the car, the tank, the airplane came in? No one. Transformers, if I go here and look up 1977 Star Wars, and this reminds me of a great sale I made. Some of the stuff from 1977 is just absolutely insane. So there was a figure that came out in 1977, and it was Luke, and he had the white robe and all that. But it was a very limited run on this type of figure. His lightsaber actually came out of his hand and then it came out again. So the actual wording that you want to look up is double telescoping lightsaber. That figure alone, loose, without packaging, is $500.
Yeah.
They break, they're brittle.
Yeah,
but
that's probably why they're so rare.
Yeah, and it was a very short run. After that, it was just one single piece that came out for the lightsaber. I'm not a a master of that type of stuff. I know some people that can tell you exactly the year, the country of origin changed. Some were Hong Kong, some were I think Taiwan made some. There was a bunch of different companies making these for Kenner back in the day. But look up Transformers, later on. Look up G.I. Joes later on. That's going to be the same type of thing. Not 77, but specifically 77 Star Wars stuff. That's what I'm buying. I'm buying all of it. I'm buying as much as I possibly can. I'm going to put it into like a storage facility that's humidity controlled so the boxes don't get molded. And then I'm done. Then you can name your price. You have like the entire collection. Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, you're not talking tens of thousands. You're probably talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So are you pulling those out today to sell them, or you're thinking about, maybe could you ever depart with that? You've kept them so long. At what point do you sell them? Yeah.
I could totally sell anything. I'm not really attached to much at all. I would rather go on trips and see stuff that have things like in my house.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, if you keep holding out, does the value just keep going up and up and up? Or do you think there comes a point where the next generation doesn't even like Star Wars anymore? Yeah.
Because it's like, that's our generation right now that wants to rebuy their childhood.
Yeah.
So that's why I love flipping old toys like that from the 70s and 80s, because everyone, oh man, I had that and I want it again. And now I'm going to pay 15 times what it cost back then, and they don't care. They'll buy it. But there is a point where I think you're right. We get older, we start getting rid of that stuff. Do my kids, my 17 and 18-year-old, they have no idea what that is. They never had that as a kid. So I think the value will probably go down.
I'm not sure, just because Disney keeps making Star Wars movies. And as long as there's still an interest in Star Wars, I think that the people in their teens and 20s now, when they get to their 40s and 50s and start having money, if Star Wars is still a thing, they might be interested. I don't know. I wish I could.
They're going to buy something from 1977. It's not even their age. They're not even their realm. Are you going to go out and buy a toy from 1955? I'm not. No. I'm not into like the tin toys and the Marx toys. I'm not into that. My parents, my father had that stuff.
Yeah.
I have no interest because I didn't play with it. Like, I didn't have that stuff.
Some of that stuff is rare and it still doesn't bring much money. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule, but so
that was it. 77. I'm going into all those department stores and I'm buying all the stuff.
Every Star Wars figure.
Yep.
Yeah. I was looking on eBay at sold comps, and I typed in 1977 and I typed in like 77 stereo, because I do like to buy vintage stereos. And there's a couple stereos that there's a Sansui stereo and a Marantz stereo that seem to bring the most money from 1977. What the Sansuis can bring up to $2,500 for a restored one. They just look sweet. They're all stainless steel on the front, and they have like the FM dial that goes back and forth when you turn the knob. No digital, nothing digital. Some of them have tubes for the sound, and which some people think just makes a better sound than solid state electronics. As far as like music goes, the Fleetwood Mac Rumors record came out. I don't know if it came out. I think it came out that year, and one had sold still sealed. Like, who bought Fleetwood Mac and didn't listen to it back in the day? Yeah, one sold sealed, assuming it was legit, but $520 for a sealed album.
That's awesome.
I thought that was Fleetwood Mac's best album.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then I'm a big Cincinnati Reds fan. So I typed in 1977 Reds baseball cards, and the Johnny Bench and the Joe Morgans can bring some pretty good money. I don't know. I don't think either one of them was a rookie that year, but they have the highest resale value. So yeah, that's probably what I would go back and collect some more baseball cards and buy a few Fleetwood Mac albums. Buy one to listen to and maybe 5 to resell someday.
Right. Exactly right.
Start filling up my tubs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That Marantz is also a really good name.
Yeah. I have a few Marantz stereos right now.
Nice.
All right, Dennis, let's move on to the section that we call customer service. Do you have any customer service issues from the last week that you want to talk about? Get off your chest,
I have a good one. One. Positive
Yeah.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring it up. It's really cool. I was at a yard sale over the summer, and I bought a whole bunch. I don't know why I did this. It was cheap. I bought a whole bunch of ornaments. I don't know if anybody goes out and buys Christmas ornaments in late August, but
I do.
it was a whole box of them, and she's like $5, and I'm like, sure, here's $5. I knew some of them were vintage, and I'll read you. I found one in there in the shape of a hummingbird, probably, I don't know, 5 inches long. It was missing its feet, but I did a quick reverse Google search on it, and it came up as being a vintage or antique. It's probably, I don't know, 60 years old or so, made in Germany, mercury glass, hummingbird ornament.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Took some pictures of it. It was missing the little feathers on its tail, and I guess you're supposed to have a perch for it. Anyway, sold, it was under $20, but it went to a collector, and he wrote me a message, and it says, just wanted to thank you again for the special price and the great packaging job. I've been collecting these birds since I was 5 years old, and in the last few years, I've focused on adding some big birds, so he's a welcome addition. The legs from the parts box will fit him perfectly. Last year, I figured out a way to make the little stilts out of florist's wire and then clip the birds to the stilts rather than the branches that they usually come with. This worked really well. Thank you again. And he sent me like a whole bunch of pictures. He has a Christmas tree in one of these pictures. I'll have to post it, filled with these things. And it is absolutely spectacular. I didn't know this was a thing. People collecting these. I honestly thought it was just an ornament that was missing pieces. So it just feels awesome to like connect an item that you found in a box for $5 to an actual person that is ecstatic getting it.
Appreciates it.
So,
Yeah.
Very cool.
Put that on Instagram, on your Instagram account.
I will.
I have links to our Instagram accounts, our eBay pages, our YouTube pages in the descriptions of each video. So if somebody wants to know how to find us on other social media platforms, that's where you can just look that up. So you're going to share a good one. I'm going to share a bad and a good one, all in the same breath. I had a customer that I sold. I don't know if I talked about this last week. I sold some Avon Skin So Soft bug spray to a customer, and they left me a negative feedback. And so I had replied. I think I had replied to the feedback and basically said, "You're right. I should not have sold that. I took the list. I took all my listings down. I had like 3 different listings. Took them down, threw the stuff away, and I said eBay was allowing me to list it, so I didn't know that it was bad." Well, they replied to that and said, "You're a liar. You knew exactly what you were doing. The reason that eBay didn't flag you is because you didn't put the expiration date in the details.
Wow.
You knew exactly what you're doing." And I'm like, yeah. Now that they've called me a liar, I can get this feedback removed, because I was just planning on living with this feedback and, for the next year. So I called eBay and said, "Hey, this person is calling me a liar, and that's just simply not true. I seriously did not realize what I was doing was maybe unethical. I don't know, whatever. You're not supposed to sell expired products if it has an expiration date. I have a whole bunch of Avon up, but only a few of the items actually had expiration dates. So they said, yes, we agree. We're removing your negative feedback. And I had already blocked the person, so they can't see any more of my items.
Great.
But I'm like, yeah, sometimes when you get a negative feedback, if you kind of respond to that negative feedback with something that you think might trigger them, maybe go ahead and add that to your comment and see if you can get them to then, like, start when it gets personal, then eBay might step in and remove the feedback. So there's a little hint on maybe how to get rid of a negative feedback if you think you're stuck with it. Because there's no way I could not have done anything to make this person happy at all. Like I'm the worst person in the world. Like, yeah. So anyhow, that was my customer service interaction of the week. All right, let's move on to the next segment of our show. It's called Story Time, where each one of us gives an opportunity to share a story about past or present reselling events. Dennis, you have a story to share with us.
If I had like that news sound that
I have that somewhere.
It would go something like this, and I'll explain to you what I'm talking about, okay? Package shaming, has it gone too far? I made a really good friend at my local post office, and I'm there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We trade beer back and forth. This is a guy behind the counter giving me samples of craft beer, and I'll bring him some too. So we have a really good relationship. Mm-hmm. He knows, I bring in those Rubbermaid tubs filled with packages, and then like a big like IKEA bag with all the poly mailers. So this was 2 weeks ago. I go in on a Wednesday, just with that one little bag, no bins, no tubs of anything, and he looks at it. He's like, "That's it?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, it was a slow couple of days." He goes, "I'm sorry, did I just package shame you?" I'm like, "Yeah." That's a great way to put it. I'm like, that's I just got package shamed at the post office for not bringing enough items in. And he's giving me a whole bunch of crap. And but it's funny. We laughed. I said, "You know what? I'm going to bring that up on my podcast." And now I did. So I hope he's listening. Thank you for all your help over the past couple of years. And package shaming, it's a real thing. So make sure you sell more items so you don't get any feedback from your postal employees.
Yeah, I have noticed that in February, I have been selling a lot of small, cheaper items and less big stuff.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's how eBay is just, not is hiding my big stuff, or the economy's, slowing down. And so people aren't buying big things, but I'm not going to UPS 3 times a week now, maybe just twice a week, sometimes once a week. This week I only went once. So yes, you need more big packages. You could just put things in bigger boxes.
I could. I mean,
make them feel good.
They get credit for everything I drop off there. They get credit because they're standing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a topic of discussion too. I want to talk about sometime.
Yeah.
I was at an estate sale a couple weeks ago, and I buy a lot of computer stuff. And this was the estate sale that I went to is like an online auction. And then when you show up, anything that they didn't put in the online auction just is in a big garage sale type of sale, yard sale. Stuff's just scattered everywhere. You throw stuff in boxes, make them an offer.
Cool.
And the guy that runs the estate sales, I'm friends with him through reselling. And he knows I love electronics. Like anytime there's electronics, they usually come up to me and say, "Hey, there's a box of electronics back here in the back room. Come check it out. I wanted to give you first dibs."
Awesome.
So they like, I pay up, and I'm honest, and I guess they like me. So I joke around with them all the time. We laugh every time I go there, all the workers and stuff. I have a couple of their phone numbers, so I can get the inside scoop sometimes on stuff that's going down. But he came up to me and said, "Hey, there's a computer that we were selling in the auction, but we can't sell it with the hard drive. The hard drive has to be destroyed." So I had it listed and it was getting some bids, but I took it down. And would you be interested in it? And I was kind of in a hurry. I needed to leave like within 5 minutes. He's like, "You'd have to take the hard drive out first." And all the computers I've ever seen in any of these estate sales, they're always just like cheap Dells. This was a desktop computer, he said. They're Dells, and they're not worth reselling. Like
Outdated.
nobody wants them. Yeah, nobody wants them. And so there was a guy, right when he told me this, there was a guy that had just walked past me and he was carrying like 4 cheap keyboards from computers that he had just bought. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking in my mind, that guy's a computer seller. Well, had this guy that ran the estate sale just asked me this question like 5 seconds later, the other guy would have been out of earshot. But this guy heard him say that to me and he turned around and he said, oh, that computer that was in the estate sale? I didn't even know about it because it went, he removed it quickly before I even saw the auction.
Yeah.
And they said, and then the guy turns to him and said, yeah, that's the one. He's like, oh, he said, I was bidding on that thing. I really wanted it. And I'm like, I said, dude, I go, it's yours. Because I have the time. Right. I still had to go inside the house of this property and get one item that I had bought. So I let that guy have the computer. And then when I walked in the house, I said, hey, where is that computer? Just for fun. I just wanted to see what it was. He's like, the guy's working on it in the other room. I turned the corner and look at this computer and my jaw dropped. It was a state-of-the-art gaming computer with like everything was customized on this computer. Like I've never seen anything like it. I bet the case alone was worth $200 to $300. It was beautiful. And he had the side off and I looked inside and I'm like, I don't even recognize some of this technology. It's so recent. I did see the graphics card and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think it's like a $400.
Like that big.
It was awesome. I would have kept it for myself.
Yeah.
So if that guy would not have been in earshot and heard this guy ask me if I wanted that computer, I probably would have said yes. And just quickly, grabbed a screwdriver or something and removed the hard drive and then realized,
oh yeah,
I would have been freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great computer. So I could have, had he asked me, when the guy wasn't on earshot, I would have said yes and it would have been mine. And it was just one of those situations where I was in a hurry. But had I known what it was, if I'd have saw the auction before it went down, I would have said, well, how much is this guy willing to pay? Because let's just have a little auction right here to see who's willing to pay the most. Yeah, I probably would have paid $100 or $200 for it right there on the spot. And I don't think he would have because he was just holding cheap stuff in his hands. So I just thought maybe it was a cheap computer and lesson learned that, don't just assume that,
right.
Something is what it is. I guess I was pretty disappointed in myself.
What did they want for it? Do you know?
I don't know what it. No, I'm going to guess the guy maybe paid $50 for it just because I kind of know how things work. Yeah. But I would have definitely paid $100 or more for it.
I mean, those graphics cards can be hundreds of dollars. Oh,
I would have kept it for myself and sold my current computer.
Yeah.
Probably. It was that.
That hurts.
Yeah.
Well,
so
learn from that mistake, everybody.
Yeah.
Don't assume.
Yeah. Well, we're at an hour with the hour mark. So I say we call this a wrap, not a wrap.
Sounds good. You guys have questions, please ask.
Yeah.
Last week had a whole bunch of questions. That was great. We appreciate it. Appreciate
we got feedback too. Right. Yeah, we had 100. Like I said, we had 100 viewers last week. Let's see if we can double that this week as word spreads about this amazing podcast. All right. Well, awesome. I'm the Quirky Picker Chad, and for Denis the Free King Flipper, so long, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.